Good evening. I will call this regular Township Council meeting of July 19th, 2022 to order at 7 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on December 22nd, 2021, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on December 28th, 2021, and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27th, 2021. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net. Would you all join me in a flag salute? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Karifi?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Here.
Mr. Musella?
Here.
Mr. Neglia?
Yeah, here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Also in attendance are Business Administrator Brett Carr, Mayor James Barbario, CFO Juan Uribe, Township Attorney Mike Salvaggio, and Township Clerk Khaled Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, August 2nd, 2022 at 7 p.m. Agenda meeting. August 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Our regular meeting.
Approval of minutes. Agenda meeting 6/14/22. Regular meeting 6/21/22. Motion to approve the minutes above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Presentations and reports. Mayor?
Council President, I'll wait to make my statement when the introduction from the budget comes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything from the Township Council?
Yes, Council President, I would just like to thank the administration, in particular the mayor and our business administrator. Prior to this meeting, we met for almost 2 hours and discussed my questions, some of the concerns that I had, and they gave me a lot of thoughtful answers, and I'm going to take the time to digest and respond from there. So just wanted to thank them for that.
Okay, thank you. Township Attorney?
None this time, Council President.
Business Administrator?
Sir, I have nothing.
Township Clerk?
No report at this time, Council President. Thank you.
Offices and committee reports?
Not at this time.
Okay. And we get to the engineering report.
Green Bank Road Safety and Improvement Project. The project is complete except for the guide rail replacement. Underground utilities could not be moved, but we have received approval from the Njdot to adjust the stream bed to allow more space for the new guide rail installation. Work will begin in the next few months once materials become available. No council action required. 2021 Road Resurfacing Curb and Sidewalk Program. The annual road resurfacing curb and sidewalk project will commence in a few weeks. No council action required. Puddingstone Heights Road Improvement Project Phase 1. Construction on the Puddingstone Heights Improvement Project is continuing. We anticipate the project being completed by the beginning of August. No council action required. Rockaway River Flood Wall Levy inspection. An inspection was conducted of the Rockaway River flood wall and levee system. The report indicated the system is in good shape and recommended several maintenance and repair items that should be addressed. We are presently working with our consultant on preparing design details and a cost estimate for the repair work. All vegetation within 5 feet of the wall and toe of slope is being cleared in accordance with our inspection requirements. No council action required. Traffic signal maintenance for Littleton Road and Rita Drive, Beechwood Road, and the Jefferson Road and Smith Road intersections. This project is for improvements and maintenance to the traffic signals located at the Littleton Road and Rita Drive, Beechwood Road intersection, and the Jefferson Road and Smith Road intersection. The improvements include the replacement of various signal detection and controller equipment that have failed. Work will begin once equipment is available. No council action required. Mount Tabor Street Improvements, Phase 7. The Mount Tabor Street Improvements Phase 7 project is in design. We anticipate bidding this project next month. No council action required. Lake Intervale Area Street Improvements. The first phase of the Lake Intervale Area Street Improvement project is in design. We anticipate bidding this next month. No council action required. Roadway design projects. The following projects are in design or proposals have been requested: Drumlin Drive stream cleaning, Jefferson Road drainage improvements, North Beverwick Road streetscape improvements, Troy Brook stream cleaning, Sylvan Way sidewalk improvements, river and stream de-snagging plans and permits, Enton Road traffic study. No council action required. Major soil moving permit, 169 Johnson Road, LLC, Block 200, Lot 8. The planning board has recommended approval of a major soil moving permit in conjunction with the site plan application for the proposed development located at 169 Johnson Road. This office has reviewed the application and recommends the Township Council approve the permit. We recommend the Township Council approve the permit by resolution. Major soil moving permit, 2 Campus Drive, multifamily development, Block 202, lots 3.1 and 3.2. The planning board has recommended approval of a major soil moving permit in conjunction with the site plan application for the proposed residential development located at the corner of Littleton Road and Campus Drive. This office has reviewed the application and recommends the Township Council approve the permit. We recommend the Township Council approve the permit by resolution. Proposed stop sign, Kingston Road at Littleton Road. This office has received a request to investigate placing a stop sign on Kingston Road at the intersection with Littleton Road due to numerous vehicles not stopping at this uncontrolled T intersection. The police department in this office investigated this request, and it was determined that a stop sign is warranted. An ordinance must be adopted by the Township Council. Endorsement of the Njdot Municipal Aid Grant. We are in the process of preparing and submitting a grant application through the Njdot Municipal Aid Grant Program. The application is for the south end of Edwards Road from Route 46 to New Road. This project will include drainage improvements, full depth road reconstruction in various locations, resurfacing of the roadway, and enhanced traffic stripping and markings. A resolution endorsing the application will need to be adopted by the Township Council. Construct retaining wall in the public right-of-way, 80 Fox Hill Road, Block 101, Lot 222. The property owner at 80 Fox Hill Road is requesting permission to construct a retaining wall in the public right-of-way in order to stabilize the embankment which support his existing driveway to his residential house. The office reviewed the plan and visited the site and concludes that the retaining wall is necessary. The property owner will assume all responsibility and to construct and maintain the wall, as well as obtain all necessary permits and approvals. An ordinance must be adopted by the Township Council.
Thank you. Bids taken. July 20th, 2022, base bid. Well redevelopment services for wells 10, 4, and 4A, and pumping system replacements for wells 10, 4, and 4A, and supplemental bid, well redevelopment services for well 17, and pumping system replacement for well 17. Bid to be taken, 8/11/22, well 1A replacement. Now I will entertain a motion to open this hearing to the public.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Musella. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
The floor is open to the public on any matter. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Anyone wishing to come forward? Seeing no one come forward, entertain a motion to close.
Motion.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2022:21. Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank for calendar year 2022 pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-45:14. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at the meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on July 19th, 2022, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on August the 16th, 2022, at 7 p.m. prevailing time or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution for ordinance 2021:21 by myself.
Seconded.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Musella. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2022-114, 2022 Municipal Budget Introduction. Motion to approve the resolution made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani. At this point, we're going to go ahead and stop for discussion. So we can go ahead and entertain discussion by the council members prior to a roll call vote.
Okay, Mayor, you're up first.
Okay, first I would like to make a statement regarding the introduction of this budget, the 2022 budget. When I left office at the end of 2017, Parsippany's finances were in great shape. Our town had plenty of money. My administration created $22 million in total surplus for Mayor Sariano. In addition, we outgrown our ratables with the revenue-enhancing projects like UPS, GAF, and filled 5.7 million square feet of vacant office space. I handed Mayor Sariano a well-run town that was flush with funding to provide for the services we all enjoy and expect. Within four short years, Mayor Sariano destroyed Parsippany's finances. He squandered all the surpluses in our utilities as well as our current fund. In 2020, he anticipated a significant amount of water and sewer surplus fund as revenue in the current fund. And he also, if I may add, anticipated a significant amount of revenues in the utilities themselves. And that's an apparent avoidance of tax increases. To some extent, it harmed the financial health of all utilities. Basically, in 2021, there was no surpluses. As a result of my predecessor's incompetence, he was forced to increase our water fees by 39% in 1 year. Alone, Mayor Sariano's incompetence has Parsippany's finances headed for a cliff. As I stated during my campaign, my top priority is to clean up the financial mess that Mayor Sariano left us. Believe me when I say, we have a financial crisis. And I need to be honest with you, our budget challenges will not be solved in 1 year. While we must always look to cut waste and govern in the most financially efficient way possible, I will tell you that we cannot cut our way to prosperity. Anyone who thinks otherwise should send me the line items they want cut, and I can tell you how difficult that's going to be. I know that many people in our town are hurting. Inflation is increasing, prices of our daily needs, life needs, gas, food, fuel, and other necessities are skyrocketing. The last thing we want to do is increase that burden. But, as I have said many times, we need to raise some revenues this year or we will not be able to meet our town's financial obligations. And right now, we can't do that. Tonight, I sent you the introduction to the budget, and we were proposing a 3.3% tax increase in the municipal portion of the budget. That means if you own a home valued at $397, excuse me, the municipal portion of your tax bill will go up by $319. That is $26.58 a month. The tax levy is different. The tax levy, which means the amount of money needed to fund our government, is also increasing. This increase is 14.68%. But the effect on the resident is the tax rate I just read off to you, 3.3%. I know this is a hardship, believe me when I say, there are some who think we should do a lot more in revenue raising this year, and I'm going to get into that in a moment, but I'm not going to do that. One way we would do that was we would cancel 1.8 million appropriations, and all you're going to be doing is kicking the can down the road. 1.8 million, if you were to cancel the appropriations this year, becomes significantly increased into next year, over $3 million. We used $2.7 million of the American Rescue Plan money to offset the expenses by using it as a source of revenue. This was done last year, so we really didn't have much of a choice. We'd have to come up with $2.7 more million to cut. And believe me when I tell you, we cannot cut any more from this budget. I do want to get back to the $1.8 million. What we did do was we decided not to cancel the appropriations, so we had to come up with another 1.8 million in cuts, which we did. The BA did it, the auditor, and we had the CFO as well. But going forward, we will look to operate our government in a more efficient manner. We need to increase our police force, and this is what I'm going to get into now with regards to this budget. When I left in 2017, we had approximately 106 police officers. Deployable, probably close to 103. Now, deployable, we're down to 81. And I will tell you this, for me, and I'm sure for most of the council, public safety is very, very important. We have to beef that up. The past administration ignored the fact that it needed to hire more police officers. Instead, when they retired, there was no hire. You might as well just defund the police department, because that's exactly what was happening. And I'll say it candidly, they had a chief that just followed, I don't want to get into what I think of the former chief, but that's beside the point. He let the police department become depleted. Well, that's not going to happen with myself and hopefully with this council. And this needs to be addressed. We have an agreement here that when a police officer retires, we hire immediately, because that police officer is in the budget at the time. We have to beef that up. We cannot allow it to continually dwindle down. And I hope to have this police department back up to at least 96, 97 by the end of this year. Not only that, we are short in other areas. Department of Public Works, Parks and Forestry, all areas in our departments are short. We are very short that we need to hire these individuals so we can get our work done, our sanitation pickup, our parks and forestries, our recreational fields, everything. And I got to tell you, when I went through this budget, it was disheartening just seeing some of the things in that budget from the previous budgets. I went through 18, 19, 20, and 21, and you know, and I'm glad. I'll be honest, frank with you, I'm glad I became a business administrator over the last 4 years. I got to see a lot more. I will have to give credit to our BA, and I'm going to give credit to our CFO, sitting down with me and explaining things that happened when they weren't even here at the time. So, but one thing we're going to do going forward is we're going to look to raise our revenues by increasing our commercial ratables. Parsippany has too many vacant or underperforming antiquated office buildings. Those buildings need to be repurposed with commercial uses that will generate more revenue for our township. My plan is to build our commercial ratable base so that our taxpayers can be protected against future tax increases. My predecessor ignored our commercial ratable base, and I won't. We will increase commercial ratables, and we will do it in ways that will maximize economic benefits for Parsippany tax-paying residents. We will be restructuring our Economic Development Committee, which would be, I'm not going to tell you, will be more involved with our bringing in companies. We have a really good organization of Economic Development Committee members that I've got to know over this past year, and they're committed. They're committed to bring a good business and smart growth to Parsippany. But the one thing I can't do, as I can't promise a magic wand, but I can promise smart, competent leadership and bold new ideas to put Parsippany back on the path to economic prosperity. I want Parsippany residents to be the lowest tax residents in Morris County, and I want to accomplish that while increasing the quality and scope of our services for our residents. With support of the council, we together will realize these goals and move Parsippany forward in a positive, new financial light. Before I close out, Council President, I do want to say this was a really, really tough budget to handle. All hands were on deck. We had two finance committee meetings. We met with the auditors, and I wanted to present the best budget that I could for what we had, and I'll tell you why. If we wouldn't have done the things that we did, 2023 would be worse than 2022. And 2022 was pretty damn bad. But 2023 would have been worse. And there was no way you'd be able to recover. So this budget addresses all that. And next year, we start at ground zero. We start out where we should have been in the beginning of the year. With that being said, Council President, I hand over the floor to you as it's just your meeting, and I just hopefully that the council, if any has any questions whatsoever during the budget hearings, please feel free to ask me, BA, or the CFO. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council members, who wants to go first? Paul?
All right. As most people know, in the past, I have not voted for budgets with larger increases. But in gathering all the facts, talking to our auditor, talking to the mayor, and other people in our administration, this year is like no other. One of the things that affected our town in the past was COVID. All right, we all know that. But what happened was, with the past administration, spending continued at the same rate that it had always been at, but our ratables and our revenue was way down, way down. I'll give you an example. If you earn $100, but you're only bringing in 100 when you used to bring in 200. Okay? Now you're bringing in 100, but you're still spending 200. You have to dip into your savings and your surplus, and that's what was going on from the previous administration. And our surplus just kept going and going and going, and now it's gone. We also have inflation, okay? Everyone knows in this country, inflation's going through the roof. Well, that trickles down, and that affects everything we have to pay for as well. Gas is more than double what it was 2 years ago, okay? Right now, the mayor stated that the increase for the average home in our town with this new budget would be $26.58 a month, okay? In order to get this budget, speaking with the mayor, down to what our budgets would normally be, we would have to lay off well over 100 employees, which I know I'm not about to do. I'm not about to lay off that many people. I'm not about to get rid of over half of the services that our residents enjoy in this town, because that's what would have to happen. And I don't think anybody up here on the council would want to do that as well. For instance, I'll give you an example, $26.58 a month. The average town that has to pay a private hauler for garbage pays $100 a quarter. $100 a quarter. That's just to get your garbage picked up. This $26.58 encompasses all of our services for the entire town. So that's in comparison to another town where they're paying $100 a quarter just for garbage. So when you think about that, the $26.58, do I like the larger increase? No, I don't think anybody up here does, but it's what we need to do, or we need to get rid of half of the services in this town, which I don't think any resident in here wants to do in this town. In closing, I have complete confidence in the mayor and the administration. I know I've been speaking to Jamie about, he's got some preliminary things going, talked about commercial ratables, and it's in the early stages and stuff like that, but I'm confident that we're going to be able to build that revenue over time, but this needs to be done. As painful as it is, it needs to be done. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Yeah, I'll go next. I was on the Finance Committee last year, and in going over the budget with the administration, there were several revenue items, anticipated revenue items, that myself and Janice McCarthy, who was also on the Finance Committee, questioned. One of them that I questioned was our hotel tax. Anticipated revenue was over $2 million. We said to them, we have COVID. We don't think that this $2 million is going to be coming forward. Well, we only received, I believe it was close to $900,000 in our hotel tax. That also added to the problem of this budget. In working with Frank Neglia, Councilman Neglia, and myself, and the administration and the auditor, severe cuts were made. This budget was at a higher rate, and it has been brought down to the diligence of our mayor, who worked tirelessly to get this budget down. Police. People are calling, saying that they've been robbed, and it takes the police a long time to get to their premise. Well, we are going to hire policemen, perhaps 4, perhaps 8, but we need the police to patrol our streets and to protect our citizens. And that's one thing I know the mayor is adamant about. Just as Paul said, Councilman Carriffy said, no one likes this tax increase. I don't like it, no one else likes it. The mayor doesn't like it. But this is something that has to be done to hopefully bring us to a better position next year, 2023. Thank you.
I'll go, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you. When we first met in the Finance Committee, we started looking at some of the numbers and what it would take to get this budget back in order. I wondered why I was on the Finance Committee. It was not easy to see that in order to get this budget, we were looking at like a 20% budget increase and laying off 100 employees. It was just so much. The prior mayor certainly mismanaged the town. He hired people to newly created positions and kept them there for several years. It just added up, and added up. A total misappropriation of funds to different types of balances and so forth. It was just a shame. And he only did this in 4 years. You think about it, $32 million in 4 years when it comes down to it, 23 in surplus, 9 million. God help us if it was any longer, because I don't know what the consequences would have been, but this town would have definitely been in dire needs of a lot of things. To cut services, we cannot do that. It's not fair to the people who expect the services, who deserve the services. We do so much in this town for seniors, so much for young people, so much for the general population. We can't stop doing that. We have to be here to take care of people, and that's our jobs, to do the best we can to take care of people, because that's what it's all about. Police, as Ms. Gragnani said, we have to hire more police. I support that 100%. And I don't want to see us, become, the place where all the criminals want to come because we don't have a police department. We definitely need to beef that up. God only knows why police were not hired the last 4 years. That is the most terrible thing someone could do, is take away the safety of the people and people who depend on them. And it was just a terrible thing that was done the last 4 years by the prior mayor. It almost seems as if there was a hiring freeze just on the police, and that's a terrible thing to do, especially when it has to do with people's safety and security. I fully support this mayor's budget because he worked so hard. He was in this office 10 to 12 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week. And when we met on the Finance Committee, we were just batting our heads, and for him to get it to where it was is amazing. And I I commend him for the work he's done on this budget to get it where it is. And as he said, next year, we're going to be at ground zero, and that's where we need to be to make things better for people in Parsippany and to keep things as low as possible moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin?
When we had originally campaigned for this office, and at the time, we had watched the budget hearings in the previous year play out, we knew that if we had won, we would be walking into some serious financial difficulty. And after a considerable amount of time spent with the administration, the facts couldn't be any clearer that the results have been truly tragic, that we find ourselves in a financial crisis from which there is no easy decisions and there is no obvious solutions. But on the same hand, it is also our administration now and not the previous administration. So we will work together now that the budget is with us to find one that works for everyone, and it will be a community effort to see how we can be as resourceful as possible, what other items or recommendations we can investigate that might make this burden a lot lower than it will be in this current economic environment that we are all collectively feeling, as my colleague Councilman Karifi had said about inflation and gas prices. So with that said, I look forward to working with my members on the council and moving our municipality forward by reinventing how we spend money, how we allocate money, and the big picture is to make Parsippany an economic hub, and I fully support the mayor in that regard of attracting as many businesses here and ensuring that Parsippany is the place to be, to set up a business, to move and start a family, and I look forward to working with everyone with that mission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. During the course of 2021, I produced several statements that I released to the public. They were all on my Facebook page, and some of them were put on Focus and some were on Tap Into Parsippany, but I just want to read you 2 paragraphs out of one of my statements. This is the Township 2021 budget concerns by myself. Because of the serious budget deficits caused by this administration, it took them 7 months in 2021 to produce a budget that was, quote, balanced and certified, unquote. Balanced and certified does not mean that this is a good budget. Far from it. The Soriano administration has solved its deficit problems by pushing a lot of its problems into 2022. The sustainability of this budget should be a concern for the township for this and for future budgets. The 2021 budget includes several one-time non-recurring revenues. That means these funds will not be available to the township when preparing the budget for 2022. In other words, the administration has kicked the can down the road. They have pushed as much of their 2021 deficit into the 2022 budget that they could get away with. The DCA granted the administration a one-time allowance on a budget practice that would normally not be allowed. The Township Council rejected, and by the way, that was a unanimous rejection, 5 council rejections, rejected the mayor's request to borrow $5 million to balance his budget. We also unanimously prevented him from pushing another $1.1 million into 2022. And the next 2 paragraphs go on to explain in more detail what I'm talking about. But we knew we were going to have problems this year. All of what you heard up here from the council and from the mayor is this year's budget, as difficult as it was, only puts out the fire. It doesn't solve the problem. it puts out the fire. We're still gonna have to deal seriously with the 2023 budget before we start building up fund balances that we can be comfortable with. And I'll end with that.
Okay.
Roll call?
So, we had a motion by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
And Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, ordinance for introduction, Frank?
Yes, ordinance 2022-20, an ordinance of the Township Council of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 4, Article 7, Administration of Government, Department of the Public Works, and Chapter A 445-47 fees, compilation, omnibus drivers of the Department of Public Works of the Code of Parsippany-Troy Hills. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on July 19th, 2022, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon after as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Twenty 22:16, Justin?
An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 225, Land Use Subdivision and Site Plan, Article 14, Stormwater Management Controls of the Township Code. The notice for ordinance 22:16 was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on June 23rd, 2022, and introduced at the June 14th, 2022 agenda meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2022:16 be heard in their second and final reading by title only. Motion made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public meeting?
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2022:16 made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Public hearing is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one.
Make a motion to close the public
Second.
hearing.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above for ordinance 2022:16 made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2022:17, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 225, Land Use, Subdivisions, and Site Plans of the Code of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The notice for ordinance 2022:17 was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills on June 27th, 2022, and introduced at the June 21st, 2022 regular meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2022:17 be heard in their second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
yes,
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2022:17 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
yes,
Motion passes.
See no one coming forward. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2022:17 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
yes,
Motion passes.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that notice the final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above for ordinance 2022:17 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
yes,
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2022:18, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, authorizing the conveyance of Block 765, Lot 66, and 81.1 to Wildlife Preserves Incorporated. The notice for ordinance 2022:18 was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on June 27, 2022, and introduced at the June 21st, 2022 regular meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2022:18 be heard in their second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
yes,
Motion passes.
Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to open up public hearing on this ordinance and this ordinance only.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Musella. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella? Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
yes,
Floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
yes,
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above for ordinance 2022:18 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
yes,
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2022-19, amending the zoning ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Township Code, Chapter 430, to permit limited continuum of care LCOC communities as a conditioned use in the rural zoning district, and amending 430-8, terms defined, in connection with such use. The notice for ordinance 2022-19 was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on June 27, 2022, and introduced at the June 21st, 2022 regular meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2022-19 be heard in the second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
yes,
Motion passes.
Public hearing, motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2022-19 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
yes,
Floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one?
Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2022-19 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance is read in title on second reading and the hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and the notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in a newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above for ordinance 2022-19 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Non-consent agenda. Resolutions R 2022-115, authorizing the award of a contract to DMR Architects as architectural consultant. Motion to approve the resolution above for ordinance 2022:19, made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consent agenda. Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approval of payroll and bills list. CFO Juan Uribe recommends authorization for payment. Authorized payment of the July 22nd, 2022 regular and miscellaneous payroll, estimated at $1,600,000. Payment of bills for voucher list of 7/15/22 through 7/17/22 is $2,069,317.76. Motion to approve the authorization for payment above made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the ultimate motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second meeting.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Have a good night, everyone. We're adjourned.